There are a lot of artists, musicians, bands, cartoons, movies that are inspired by some classical composer. In this case, we're talking about a Baroque composer, a music legend, because he wasn't just one of the Baroque composers, he basically helped establish the compositional style of the Baroque era, which lasted most of the 17th century and half of the 18th. After the Baroque era, we have the Classical era. But anyway, Vitus Veit Bach was the great-great-grandfather of Johann Sebastian Bach. You were a little worried there, weren't you? Johann Sebastian Bach, if you don't know already, was a Baroque musician, composer, and he's basically the biggest name of his era. Known for his Brandenburg concertos, the Well-Tempered Clavier, the Goldberg variations, his fugues, preludes, invention, and his choral works, of course. He is undoubtedly one of the greatest composers of the Western European music, the one that maybe you know as classical music. One music piece that you may have heard of before is the Toccata and Fugue in D minor, which Bach composed somewhere around 1702 until 1708. We don't have an accurate date, unfortunately, but this means that Bach, when he composed that masterpiece, he was between the ages of 17 to 23. I don't know what you were doing between those ages, but I was not composing for an organ. And if you don't know about what track we're talking about, here it is. Ring any bells? Now, Toccata and Fugue in D minor is a two-piece musical composition for organ, with toccata being the introduction for the fugue, and then we have the outro, which is the coda, the ending. According to Wiki, toccata is a virtuoso piece of music typically for a keyboard or plucked stringed instrument, featuring fast-moving, lightly fingered and otherwise virtuosic passages or sections, with or without imitative or fugal interludes, generally emphasizing the dexterity of the performance fingers. Also, in classical music, a fugue is a contrapuntal polyphonic composition technique in two or more voices, built on a subject that is introduced at the beginning in imitation, which recurs frequently throughout the course of the composition. Hope you're with me, we have one more. A coda is a passage that brings a piece to an end. It may be as simple as a few measures or as complex as an entire section. With the king of codas being Beethoven, he really liked to exaggerate when he was ending. Beethoven edging us for centuries now. The piece we have today we owe to one of Bach's students' student, Johannes Ring. When he was a teenager, he made a copy of it, so that's why we have it today. Almost a century later, the piece was published for the first time with some help from our beloved Felix Mendelssohn, an excellent composer who wrote many concertos, many symphonies, oratorios, including the one that has the wedding march in it, and several chamber music pieces. Anyway, the technique of fugue was used a lot during the Baroque era and after the Baroque era by many composers. And this track specifically, Toccata and Fugue in D minor, is one that gives room to the performer when they are performing it to express themselves by altering a little bit the rhythm, emphasizing on some other points. And this is something that was not very popular during that era. This came on more in the Romantic era, I would say. 2 centuries later. Now hold that thought. Okay, Bach himself had kids. A little fun fact, he didn't have like 2 or 3 kids, or like 4 or 6. No, guess. I'll wait. 20. He had 20. He had 20 children. Bach, Johann Sebastian Bach, had 20 children. So, to continue his legacy to his children, and specifically one of them for his oldest son, and just keep music within the family. He composed the Inventions and Sinfonias. This project was a collection of short pieces created only for educational purposes. They are quite useful if you're just starting out to play the piano, or the harpsichord, or the freaking organ. They were so well made that teachers are still using them in classes today. I grew up on the freaking inventions, or as my teacher called them, inventions. One of the reasons why Bach is a genius and these inventions and symphonias are so good and useful is because they're easy to memorize, so the student is more likely to focus on the technique of playing and not to what note they should press. His music can give you a great way to begin playing music and also a great challenge if you're already on top of your game. And for the non-musician friends, you can enjoy his music at any moment of the day, in many occasions, because of how wide it is, technically and emotionally. The inventions and symphonias were apparently appreciated by not just the academics, but the metal community, and especially one band that you might know, Children of Bodom, which is a very big melodic death band of all times. You know them, I know them, our neighbors know them, even if they didn't want to know them. In 1979, Markku Ulla Aleksi Laiho was born. He was very young when he started playing the violin and later became interested in creating his own music. In 1997, besides my birth, something else worth mentioning happened. Former members of the band Inarted formed Children of Bodom. The band has released a total of 10 albums, starting off with Something Wild, and no, that's not my comment, that's the name of the album. Their firstborn and a great album. In general, within the album, they do follow the Western European music standards, but the third track, Red Lies in My Eyes, start with Bach's Invention number 13 in A minor. Do you remember? We just talked about it. The main melody is this one. And it appears 2 times within the track. From there, Children of Bodom take it and develop it into Red Light in My Eyes. In Red in My Eyes Part 2, Children of Bodom chose to show appreciation for another very, very big and very, very famous composer, Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart. This is a classical composer and a genius, it's safe to say. The track begins referencing the Symphony number 25, and right in the beginning we have the Symphony number 25 in G minor. And right after that comes Confutatis, a part of his Requiem. This was from the symphony. A little bridge, and now we have the part of the Requiem. Now, I'm not gonna go deep into Mozart, maybe this is for another video because this is becoming overwhelming. So, another little fun fact, toccata was also used by other artists such as Megadeth, and I hear Van Halen used them in some of his solos live. Now, later in the album, in a moment of high intensity headbanging, Bach awakes again through the nail with one of his most memorable pieces, Toccata and Fugue in D minor. I will let you know in the description down below what moment exactly they took their reference from. I'm always happy to see a band taking inspiration from whatever era, Renaissance, Baroque, classical, romantic, doesn't matter. I really appreciate that. I always enjoy analyzing it. Anyway, today the band is not longer together. You might know that. Alexei is no longer alive. And there's not much more to say other than I would love to hear other tracks with classical composers, classical pieces in them. So if you have more, write them down in the comments. The other videos that I do will not stop. This was by far my favorite thing to film. So I hope you enjoyed, and thank you so much for watching. Bye! My cup is farting. What the fuck?